It claims 2,500 lumens and works down to 150 meters and costs less than $100. But can the Odepro ND51 actually perform when it matters? In the cold, the dark, and the murky. Perfect conditions for here in Seattle. Odepro wasn't a brand I was too familiar with in the dive torch world, but it packs a surprising amount of quality for the price. My goal of these reviews is to at least put 10 dives on it, and I think I put a little bit over a dozen dives with this thing. Across night dives, murky waters, and always cold. And the most depth I usually put on it is around 30 meters or 100 feet at most. And so to be clear, Odepro reached out to me and asked if I would like to review one of their dive torches. And I'd love to do more gear reviews, so I adamantly said yes. And so they sent me this thing for review. They didn't ask me to make sure it's glowing or anything, and it's not sponsored. Although if you are interested by the end of this video, I do have a link in the description. Check it out if you're going to purchase it. And if you use that link, it'll help support the channel. My goal here is not to sell you on this torch, but to just tell you how it is, what it's like to dive with, and you can be the judge. My first impressions out of the box is they were very clear with the box on the specifications, and the whole experience was very streamlined. Of course, it came with some extra O-rings, the proprietary charger, and of course the dive torch and the battery, and a lanyard, but this clip is not included. This is mine. I just put it on there because I generally don't like anything to not be clipped to anything, so I'm paranoid. So first impression, it has 2 O-rings. That's pretty sturdy, and it supports down to 150 meters. That is plenty deep, more than I'll ever go. Even with my interest in tech diving, I'm never going that deep. And I'm sure that counts for most, but kudos to you if you go deeper. This might not be for you. 150 meter or 492 feet. And surprisingly, it's built very sturdy. I will say the quality of this thing, it does advertise impact resistance, and honestly, I believe it. It is pretty sturdy. It does make it a little bit heavier than other dive torches, but if you are looking for something a little bit more reliable and robust, this might be on your list. And let's talk about the battery and the charger real fast. It is kind of a proprietary battery, but I will say this is just charged with USB-C. And this thing is surprisingly light, so it's not too big of a hassle. So there we see the inside. I can see 2 visible O-rings and of course the threads, and we take out the light. Pretty simple. And with the charger, it's just going to kind of slot in there like so, and you just charge with the USB-C. And it has a little charging indicator to let you know that it's charging and when it's full. And you just pop that thing out and put it back in. It is kind of nice after all these years, especially on liveaboards, to just kind of set up a charging station, take your battery out and plug it into your chargers. It's a nice setup. And this thing is so light, it's not super inconvenient. I've had some proprietary chargers that I've been super annoyed with, and this one's okay. The lanyard's just fine. I will talk about the mounting options real fast. And so with this one, you really just have a little hole at the base and really nothing else. You could potentially have a clamp here, especially I've seen those soft wrist mounts and they have a little Velcro that can go over the top of this, and that could be fine. The head's a little heavy, so I can imagine that's probably okay. But anyways, you could put some kind of soft Velcro on it as a mount, but it's limited, and I think it's designed to be held by hand. Personally, I find that kind of annoying for a main light, but it could be good for backup lights. Or if you just want a nice light for a night dive, then this is fine. If you don't mind holding in your hand, then it's fine. Just worth calling out my own preferences, and maybe you fit in the same boat. Now, this thing has a maximum lumen of 2,500. I will say that it also has a push button, which some people will love and some people will hate. It's generally not very good for a pocket because maybe while it's in your pocket, it might turn on. But I generally like this if it's not in a pocket. So it has some pros and cons. It's not perfect. There's no best. You know, I actually prefer buttons, especially for main dive torches because they're usually easy to find, but they're also potentially breaking points. But this one is magnetic. So it's not pneumatic, it's magnetic. And so that has a little bit extra resilience because it's just basically having a magnet touch another magnet and the internals are still sealed. It has 4 LEDs at the front, 2,500 max lumens, and when you turn it on, it automatically starts at the highest mode. Then you can continue to press it down and then get to the lowest setting and then off. The medium mode is 1,000 lumens and the lowest mode is 300 lumens. And it also has a strobe mode at 2,500 lumens if you push and hold for about 3 seconds. This is kind of a really niche feature. I'm not entirely sure I would use it. Maybe if you really want to get the attention of someone or really signal that you have an emergency. I've never really used this even in emergencies. I never really, anyways, it is fairly niche. I could imagine if you just wanted to annoy the pants off your dive buddy, it's definitely an option. But maybe you might be different. You might prefer and find a nice use for the strobe feature. So I wanted to mention it. The battery is 5,000 milliamp hours and lasts 1 hour on the highest setting. It lasts about 2 hours and 50 minutes on medium and 11 hours on the lowest setting. And so that's generally fairly nice for someone like me, because I generally will turn something on and leave it at the lowest setting and then bump it up as needed. So I almost always have it on for a whole dive at the low setting and then only as needed move it up to a higher setting. And so I generally never ever dive with just on high the entire dive. So that's okay, because an hour is not too much time. You'll probably burn through your battery pretty quick. But 11 hours on low, not bad. And so I wanted to put this hour to the test. So I did put it in and burned it down twice from being fully charged until it died. And it turns out that it actually is better battery life than what's advertised. It lasted about 85 minutes in liquid cooling. So that's not too bad at the highest setting. One interesting thing that I discovered while using this light is it doesn't have a low battery indicator that I recall at all. So it does start strobing once it's low. So you'll know when it's low, but it doesn't really tell you that it's low until it starts strobing. So that's kind of interesting. You don't really know how low it is, so you'll just have to get in a pattern of charging it consistently after the dives. But likely that's just once a day at the end of the day. That's fairly normal for almost all my dive torches, charge it at the end of the day. So really my question comes down to, can it last a full day of 4, maybe 5 dives a day on like a liveaboard? And this one seems so, but it might be cutting it close. And it measures about 145 millimeters across and 53 meters at its widest point. The beam has a little bit yellowish tint. It's not quite soft white, and so has a little bit of red in it, a little yellowish, but that's not too bad. I just want to point out the color. You can kind of see it in some of my shots. It dealt well with the murky waters of Seattle, and the cold water didn't phase it at all. This thing is fairly tough and it was super reliable whenever I used it. One note is when I turn it on and off is you kind of have to push all the way in because it is magnetic. You know, you can't kind of soft push it. You have to push it all the way in. It has to be all the way in. So, I mean, that's fine. It's not a big deal. I mean, one note is it's easy to operate with gloves, with a button, you know, no problem. And super easy with one hand. There's nothing twisting, nothing going on here, so that's kind of nice. Oh, in one note, this could be a pro and con for you, but it does start with one push at the highest setting. Personally, I like to have the lowest setting because I run with it on low almost the entire dive. So usually when I turn something on, I have to bump it down to the lowest setting and then keep it there. And so instead of like bumping it up, I have to turn it back on. So for me, I'm constantly cycling through the different modes. That's slightly annoying, but for some who want a light when something's gone wrong or have something in a pinch, they might want it to start in the highest mode. So it's really preference, and I just wanted to call it out. Also, some dive torches, after you leave on a mode for some time and then you hit it again, it'll turn off. This one doesn't, it just cycles through. So to turn it off, you really do have to keep cycling until you get to the off mode. So it'll just go through the different modes until it's off. And remember, pushing and holding is the strobe. And you can see from my footage, I really took it out and had a good time with it in different dive sites, and it performed admirably. I can really see the quality and reliability in the make, and it provided good illumination throughout the dives. So no major concerns in terms of the quality, robustness. It was always reliably turning on, turning off when I needed it throughout all the dives. One thing to mention is it's made out of aluminum, so it's not an alloy, so this is even a little bit more robust and tough than other dive torches that maybe have an alloy in it. But it also makes it a little bit heavier at 230 grams. Otherwise, everything performs smoothly, charging, undoing the O-rings. I don't see any long-term maintenance issues with this dive torch. And just another thing I want to mention, in some of my footage, you'll see me using another light, and that's the Big Blue TLS 5200. I'm not advertising this light. It's just the light I use for a baseline to compare other dive torches. So if you ever see any of my other reviews of dive torches, it's always this light. This is my baseline, and it's 5,000 lumens at the most. Then on the next setting, 2,600 lumens, then 1,300 lumens, and 520 lumens at the lowest setting. So that's where you're kind of seeing it compared against as just kind of a consistent baseline. It is a more powerful light, but it kind of shows you a good comparison of lumens to lumens. So who's the Odepro ND51 for? I want to say that it could be an excellent main light for those who want an easy to operate and reliable and robust light for night dives. Otherwise, it could be a backup light if it wasn't for the button. You can also clip it to a D-ring or strap it onto your BCD. I probably won't put this in a pocket because of the button, but that button is also a pro and a con, because I actually do like buttons. It's my own personal preference, but it's not pocket friendly. And with superior robustness and being able to take it down to 150 meters, which we're not diving that deep, but the capability of this being able to do that really shows the level of robustness of this dive light. It does make a really nice backup torch, and it's really nice for single hand operations. It is a narrow beam, which I'm not sure I talked about earlier, but it's at 18 degrees. So mainly used for narrow focus beam, and it's not adjustable, but it's super sturdy and the quality shows. And as divers, Odepro is definitely a brand to keep an eye on. If you like this video, make sure you smash that like button and subscribe. I'm doing more gear reviews and education on gear videos and skills and destinations. Always trying to keep things interesting here on the channel. If you love scuba diving, you've come to the right place. The more you know, the more you'll love and protect the ocean. Until next time.